In this video, I'm going to try to answer a question. What camera should you buy? The Panasonic S5 II with phase detect autofocus or the Sony a7 IV? Both are entry-level-ish full-frame cameras for their respective brands with different approaches for stills and video. The Sony a7 IV is a camera that came out late 2021 and the Panasonic S5 II early 2023, a year and change in difference. And how do the cameras stack up? Let's get right to it and find out, starting with the advantages for the Panasonic S5 II. 6K open gate. That means the entire sensor is filming, not just the 16:9 area. Nothing is wasted. That means that you can get anamorphic and squeeze it down to a higher aspect ratio than conventional 16:9. Walking capable IBIS. Panasonic specifically mentions walking and running, and that is impressive considering how I can barely run at my age. Waveforms, probably the best way to expose for video. Shutter angle, probably the best way to handle shutter in video. Custom LUT monitoring with baked-in LUTs. Wider base ISO. It has a lower sensitivity first gain at 640 and the second gain is at 4000, which is higher than 3200. It has a built-in fan and the design is minimalistic and it occupies the least amount of space compared to other implementations. That's impressive. It has 30 frames per second electronic shutter. It has pixel shift for high-res mode of 96 megapixels. And the price, 500 less, is a meaningful amount, and it may mean the difference between being slapped with a hand or with papers. Advantages for the a7 IV. It has a 33 megapixel sensor. The battery life, the Z battery is trusted, unlike Panasonic's battery. Dials on the right, there are two, and the outermost is lockable. No accidents like my youngest born son. Arguably more intuitive controls, breathing compensation, focus mapping, all intra video, little to no wobble with IBIS, and at any focal length. It offers large, medium, and small RAW, 10 frames per second mechanical shutter, and autofocus. If you want the best in stills and video, Sony is the benchmark that other brands compare to. I mean, it has animal IAF in stills and movie modes. Similarities of the a7 IV and Panasonic S5. 10-bit video, and compared to 8-bit, which gives 16 million hues, 10-bit offers over a billion hues. Unlimited recording, this should be the standard. It's not quite there yet, but it is. Full-size HDMI, much better than the former micro HDMI, which was probably designed by Asians.
Wow!
High frame rate in high definition mode, although the S5 II does offer slightly faster 180 versus 120 frames per second. Both have decent EVFs over 3 million dots and sufficient 0.78 magnification. Both cards have dual SDs and both at high speeds. At minimum, dual UHS 2 cards. Bluetooth 5, less battery consumption and better connectivity to apps. Breakdown of the resolution, 24 versus 33. There is a 9 megapixel difference, and that's 37% in total resolution. However, when it comes to linear resolution, that's around 18%, and it's not as simple as higher resolution is better. You should be using a higher shutter speed to accommodate for that increased resolution, and that means that it comes at a cost of high ISO noise, which matters if you're already pushing the limits. Drawbacks for both cameras is the rolling shutter. It's not great on either camera. However, if you're panning like a madman, you should reconsider what you're doing. Cropped 4K, it is what it is. It's due to the rolling shutters, not quite there. Both are entry-level cameras and you will have some annoyances, like the mic flap covering the screen on the Panasonic and the lack of front record button, the lock switch, lack of audio button. Neither cameras have tally lights. The Sony uses more plastics than higher end models. All stuff that is annoying as my wife's habit of having an opinion. So why should you buy the Panasonic S5 II? The flexibility and the toolset of the S5 II makes it a very strong video camera. This is not completely new. The original S5 was a very strong video camera. However, the S5 II has Panasonic's long-awaited phase detect autofocus. Considering how many folks use and swear by Panasonic cameras, even while they had DFD contrast detect autofocus, this is a big welcoming change. Not only will you have a higher hit rate, you can expect to have more confidence when your viewfinder isn't wobbling during focus acquisition, and having confidence that you can perform on cue when needed is like opening my wallet to find out I didn't forget my Viagra. The IBIS on this camera is walking capable. Sure, it might have issues with ultra wide lenses, and for walking vloggers, this might be an issue, a little bit of a bummer. However, at 20 millimeters and longer, you should be fine, and that focal length is suitable for most content creators. Aside from the active IS, there is active cooling. The built-in design of the fan without being so bulky means long record times and added reliability, although having a mechanical part in the camera means that it can break down the line. However, the pros probably outweigh the cons. The small size of the fan means that it won't be able to cool as much and probably doesn't need to considering the frame rates. So no need to over-engineer. For stills, it does a respectable 7 frames per second with continuous autofocus, 9 frames per second in single AF, and 30 with the electronic shutter while suppressing rolling shutter. Why should you buy the A7 IV? Well, you might be tired of using 24 megapixels year after year after year and want a bump in resolution. The A7 IV gives you a healthy 33 megapixels while giving you bread and butter specs of a solid 4K 10-bit video camera. However, it can definitely improve on codecs such as 4K 30 in H.265. And being an influencer, hopefully Sony is listening to my message. Probably not. It does offer all intro recording, which is a noticeable improvement in action scenes, and all frame rates offer this type of recording internally straight to your SD cards. While the camera does not have such a robust toolset, it does have some meaningful video tools like breathing compensation and focus map. In addition to a solid video camera, it has a faster mechanical shutter with AFC. It's better equipped to handle fast action sequences. And lastly, because it's Sony, it has the reputation, it is the benchmark. There is a reason for this. More on this later. So which should you buy? And as I see it, the Panasonic S5 II is almost a fully upgraded A7 IV at a lower price. It may not blow it away, but it does a ton of things right, and it gives you a lot of bells and whistles along the way. It is a notch up for video users. Having anamorphic support, shooting a taller aspect ratio is easier to satisfy social media duties aside from spying with Facebook. Having the best IBIS in the business makes it easier to attain high quality footage, less retakes, and generally a faster way to operate your camera. It has a lot going for it. The phase detect autofocus system means you will have more confidence as a person behind the camera or someone in front of it. From an operational standpoint, it will be faster for your overall workflow, even if you only use the AF to acquire initial focus. The biggest drawback will be the maturity. You have to remember that this is Panasonic's first iteration of phase detect autofocus, and it is a big deal. However, being so new to the game means you are susceptible to growing pains. The AF algorithms will change over the years, while Sony has it figured out to a very high level and still improving with features like the AI on the A7R5. The Panasonic S5 II is in an early adopters phase, and if you can live with it, which I'm sure many previous DFD owners can, you'll be blessed with many features in a body that's easy to love at a price that's relatively affordable and with autofocus that is much superior. With the A7 IV, there is more of a slant towards photos, and with the ability to store images in more formats, quicker for mobile access, more resolution for printouts, and the camera's just a little bit faster overall. The ability to use CF Express Type A cards means that you can move data really fast if you're willing to shell out that cash, of course. The mechanical shutter can shoot at a noticeably higher speed and kind of a sweet spot at 10 frames per second. Not too fast, not exactly slow either. The camera strikes a good balance. However, it does come in at $500 more and it's older by a good year, and it does not offer as many features. However, many of these features can be given to users in the way of firmware updates. Will Sony allow the camera to catch up and possibly cannibalize their higher end models? They should, and they were known in the past to give out meaningful updates. The A9 received real-time tracking AF, the A7 III got time-lapse and real-time AF, the A7R2 received major updates and free apps. It's been a long time since Sony has given out Easter eggs, and they should start doing it again. Aside from the features, the elephant in the room is the Sony ecosystem. As a video user, the digital ECM mics are incredibly easy to use and offer high flexibility with directional or omnidirectional settings and auto levels, and it can work with legacy analog Sony cameras. Panasonic audio implementation is certainly very good, and their XLR hot shoe is excellent. However, they lack a digital hot shoe system. While Sony has 3 mics and a wireless system without need for a 3.5mm jack, without need for analog to digital conversion, the lens selection, Sony has built an empire, and while the L-mount selection is strong, it can use improvement in key areas such as long lenses as well as staple lenses like the 16-35 f2.8. The fact that there is an alliance means that you can get premium first-party lenses as well as inexpensive third-party lenses from Sigma, and the gap in lens selection narrows over time. As it stands now, you can have access to the Art series, which are premium lenses by Sigma, and the Contemporary and I series have some very appealing options. What Sony has is access in addition to Sigma, which is Tamron and Samyang, which is an incredibly large and mature lens lineup. You get access to unconventional lenses such as the 20-40 f2.8, 35-150 f2 to f2.8, or the Samyang Tiny series. The list goes on. More on the Sony brand, which I mentioned before, is that you can get older models for your second camera and they'll have phase detect autofocus. This is nothing new. You have access to a smaller body. You have access to high resolution bodies. You have access to sports bodies. You have access to a full APS-C lineup of lenses and camera bodies for your B-cam access. Using the same mount, the same hot shoe accessories, you have quite a large selection. Like I mentioned earlier, there is an early adopters penalty. There are other factors tied directly to Panasonic as a brand that make the transition not as smooth. You might like using that hot shoe mic that doesn't require batteries or a plug and is small, lightweight. You might enjoy having access to a large selection of inexpensive glass. That said, if you are heavily slanted with video, you would be doing a disservice to yourself to ignore Panasonic. They produce excellent video products with high attention to detail and a very strong set of professional tools. The Panasonic S5 II is made for content creators, and the fact that you can get a LUT applied to your footage in camera and applied to images, combine that with the very stable IBIS, strong AF, full-size HDMI, along with connectivity, you have a case for a very user-friendly filmmaking tool that is also friendly for Instagram kitten photos. Bruh. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share. See you in the next one. Take care.